Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt the ground beneath you shake? Not in the physical sense, but in your soul? That feeling that something is changing, something is moving, something greater is calling you forward? That is not coincidence. That is not randomness. That is God shifting you. The question is, are you ready? Because when God shifts you, He is preparing you for something bigger than your past, something greater than your present. But here's the truth. Most people resist the shift. They cling to comfort, to familiarity, to old identities that no longer serve their divine purpose. Today we are going to break free from that resistance. Today we are going to embrace the shift with open hearts and open minds, because if you are willing to surrender, to trust, and to step into the unknown, God will transform your life in ways you never imagined. Are you ready? Let's begin. God's shift is intentional. Nothing happens by accident. Every moment of your life, every experience you've encountered, and every challenge you've faced have been orchestrated in a way that serves your growth. When we step back and observe life from a higher perspective, we begin to recognize patterns, synchronicities, and moments of divine intervention that could never be mere coincidence. These are signals of something greater at work, something aligning you with a destiny far beyond what you could have imagined. Most people live their lives reacting to circumstances, believing that things just happen to them randomly. But the truth is, everything is connected. Every setback, every loss, every unexpected turn is a thread in a grand design woven by God. When you start to see life this way, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? That shift in perspective is where transformation begins. It's the moment you realize that nothing in your life is out of place. Think about the moments when things didn't go according to your plan. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. At the time, these seemed like disappointments, but looking back, you can often see how they were actually redirections. The doors that closed forced you to look for new ones. The failures that seemed unbearable at the moment became the very lessons that shaped you into who you are. God doesn't allow anything in your life that doesn't serve a greater purpose. There's seasons in life where everything feels uncertain. You may feel stuck, confused, or even lost. But what if that discomfort is part of the process? What if the shift you are experiencing is necessary for you to step into the next level of your life? Growth is often uncomfortable because it requires shedding the old. It requires breaking free from what no longer serves you. God is moving you, repositioning you, and preparing you even when you don't understand. Many times we resist the shift because we want to stay in control. We want to know exactly how things will unfold. But faith doesn't work that way. Faith requires trusting the unseen, surrendering to the process, and believing that every piece of your life is being divinely arranged for your good. The discomfort you feel in transition is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is changing, and change is necessary for elevation. Consider the caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. It must go through complete transformation, breaking down entirely within the cocoon before emerging into something new. The process is not easy, but it is essential. In the same way, God is shifting you into something greater. You may not recognize it now, but if you trust in the process, you will soon see why everything happened the way it did. Sometimes the shift feels like loss. You may lose people, habits, or even aspects of yourself that once felt comfortable. But not everything that starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some relationships, opportunities, and environments were only meant to be part of your journey for a season. When God shifts you, He removes what is no longer aligned with your destiny. It may feel painful, but it is necessary. What is taken away is often replaced with something greater. Look back at the moments in your life when you felt like things were falling apart, only to later realize they were falling into place. That is how divine orchestration works. When you release the need to control every detail, you create space for God to work in ways you never expected. You allow new doors to open, new connections to form, and new levels of purpose to be revealed. If you are in the middle of a shift right now, do not resist it. Do not fear it. Instead, lean into it. Trust that everything is happening for a reason. The delays, the changes, the endings, and the new beginnings are all part of a greater plan. God's shift is never accidental. Resistance to change blocks divine transformation. When God begins to shift you, it often comes in ways that disrupt your routine, challenge your comfort, and push you beyond the familiar. The natural instinct of the mind is to resist, to cling to what is known, to avoid the uncertainty of change. But this resistance is the very thing that prevents growth, limits expansion, and keeps you stuck in cycles that no longer serve your higher purpose. Transformation is not a passive process. It requires a willingness to let go of what was in order to step into what will be. But the human tendency is to hold on, to seek security in past experiences, relationships, and identities that feel safe. The fear of the unknown becomes stronger than the desire for something greater. The mind tells stories of loss, of discomfort, of what might go wrong, convincing you that staying where you are is better than embracing the shift. But growth does not happen in stillness. Transformation does not happen in resistance. Every time you resist change, you delay the blessings that are waiting for you on the other side. You delay the breakthroughs, the opportunities, the alignment that God has already set in motion. The more you fight against it, the more you create unnecessary struggle, prolonging the process that is meant to elevate you. Resistance is not protection. It is a barrier. It is a refusal to move with the divine flow that is leading you towards something greater. Consider how nature operates. A river does not resist its path, it flows. Trees do not resist the changing seasons, they adapt. A caterpillar does not resist its transformation into a butterfly, it surrenders. The only thing in nature that struggles with change is the human mind. And that struggle is what creates suffering. When you resist, you hold on to old energy, outdated versions of yourself, and situations that no longer align with your destiny. You become stuck, frustrated, and disconnected from the higher plan that is unfolding. Fear is the foundation of resistance. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping into the unknown. The mind seeks to control outcomes, to predict what will happen, to hold on to a sense of certainty. But faith does not operate in certainty. Faith requires trust, surrender, and a deep knowing that what is coming is greater than what has been. When you resist, you are telling God that you do not trust the process. You are choosing your limited perspective over divine guidance. Look at the moments in your life when change was forced upon you. The times when you were pushed out of a situation, when something ended abruptly, when doors closed that you desperately wanted to keep open. At the time, it may have felt painful, but in hindsight, you can often see how it was necessary. You can see how what you thought was a loss was actually a redirection. You can see how the things you resisted were the very things that led you to something better. The discomfort of change is temporary, but the rewards of transformation are lasting. The process may feel unfamiliar, but that does not mean it is wrong. When God shifts you, He is moving you into a position where you can receive more, become more, and impact more. But you cannot step into the new while clinging to the old. You cannot receive what is meant for you if your hands are full of what is no longer yours. Let go of old identities to embrace new purpose. The version of you that got you here is not the version that will take you where you are meant to go. Growth requires shedding shedding outdated beliefs, shedding limiting patterns, shedding identities that no longer align with who you are becoming. Holding on to an old version of yourself out of comfort or familiarity only keeps you stuck in cycles that prevent transformation. When God shifts you, He is calling you into a higher version of yourself, and that requires releasing the attachments that keep you tied to the past. Most people struggle with this because their identity is deeply rooted in their past experiences, their environment, and the labels they have accepted over time. These labels may have once served a purpose, but they become cages when they are no longer aligned with your divine assignment. You are not your mistakes, not your failures, not the limitations others have placed on you. You are evolving, and with that evolution comes the necessity of letting go. Letting go is not always easy because the mind clings to the familiar even when it no longer serves you. You may have been conditioned to believe that you are a certain way, that you have to follow a specific path, that you must stay in environments that feel safe but no longer nourish your growth. But safety is not always aligned with purpose. Staying in an old identity for the sake of comfort only limits what God is trying to do in your life. The moment you choose to release, to detach, to surrender to the new, you make space for the shift to take place. Think about how a snake sheds its skin. It does not resist the process. It does not try to hold on to what is no longer useful. It simply allows the shedding to happen because it understands that in order to grow, it must release what no longer fits. This is the same for you. Your old identity may have served you at one stage of life, but if it no longer aligns with where you are being called, it is time to let it go. Many times people struggle with stepping into a new identity because of fear. Fear of how others will perceive them, fear of judgment, fear of stepping into the unknown. But holding on to an old identity for the sake of pleasing others only keeps you trapped in a version of yourself that is not meant to last. When God shifts you, He calls you out of places that no longer match your purpose. He removes people, environments, and attachments that keep you tied to a lesser version of yourself. And if you resist, you delay the transformation that is meant to elevate you. There will be moments when you feel the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. You may feel the discomfort of stepping into unfamiliar territory, of leaving behind relationships that no longer align, of challenging the beliefs that have shaped you for years. But transformation requires discomfort. It requires breaking through the limits of the old self to step into the potential of the new. Growth is not about adding more to yourself. It is about releasing what no longer fits so that the truest version of you can emerge. Your identity is not fixed. You are not meant to stay the same. The people who knew you in your past may try to define you by who you used to be, but that is not your responsibility to carry. You do not have to fit into the expectations of who others think you should be. Your only responsibility is to align with the divine calling on your life. And that means letting go of any identity that keeps you from fully stepping into your purpose. When God calls you higher, He will strip away everything that is not aligned with where you are going. This process may feel like loss, but it is actually preparation. It may feel like confusion, but it is actually clarity unfolding. The identity you are releasing was never meant to define you permanently. It was only meant to serve as a stepping stone to your next level. The moment you accept this, the moment you stop clinging to an outdated version of yourself, you create space for the transformation that is waiting for you. Trusting the unknown is necessary for divine elevation. When God shifts you, He does not always provide a clear roadmap. He does not always reveal every step before you take the first one. Instead, He calls you into unfamiliar territory, into situations where logic cannot explain the path, into places where faith is your only guide. The human mind craves certainty, predictability, and control, but divine elevation does not come through human logic. It comes through trust. It comes through surrendering to what you cannot yet see, believing in what has not yet materialized, and walking forward even when the destination is unknown. Most people struggle with this because their conditioning has taught them to rely on what is visible, tangible, and explainable. They want proof before they move, confirmation before they commit, guarantees before they step out. But faith does not work that way. Faith is believing in what has not yet appeared. It is stepping out before the path is clear. It is knowing deep within your spirit that what God has spoken over your life is already in motion, even if your current reality does not reflect it yet. Trusting the unknown means releasing the need to have all the answers. It means understanding that God sees beyond what you can see, that His ways are higher than your ways, that His plans are unfolding in a way that may not always make sense in the moment. Many times the shift does not come in a way you expect. It does not follow a logical sequence. It does not align with what seems practical, and yet it is always leading you exactly where you need to be. The discomfort of the unknown is where transformation takes place. If you always knew the outcome, if you always had certainty, there would be no need for faith. And without faith, there is no true growth. God is not asking you to understand every detail of the journey. He is asking you to trust that He has already prepared the way. When you let go of the need for control, you make room for divine intervention. When you surrender the need for certainty, you open yourself to the miracles that unfold in ways beyond your comprehension. Think about the moments in your life when things did not go according to your plan, but turned out better than you expected. The opportunities that came from unexpected places, the doors that opened when you least expected them, the blessings that arrived in ways you could not have orchestrated on your own. That is what happens when you release control and allow God to guide your steps. The shift is not about knowing every detail. It is about trusting that the details are already aligned in your favor. Fear often arises in the unknown because the mind resists what it cannot predict. It tries to convince you to stay where it is safe, where it is familiar, where it feels comfortable, but comfort is the enemy of growth. If you stay where you have always been, you will never experience the elevation that comes with stepping into something greater. Fear is not a signal to turn back. It is an indicator that you are moving beyond your limitations. It is a sign that you are stretching beyond the boundaries of your old self and into the version of you that is ready to receive what God has prepared. When God shifts you, He will often separate you from places, people, and situations that are no longer aligned with where you are going. He will remove distractions, close doors, and redirect your path in ways that may not always make sense in the moment. But what looks like loss is actually positioning. What feels like uncertainty is actually divine orchestration. The key is to trust that even when things feel unclear, they are never out of alignment. Even when the next step is not visible, the path is already set. You were never meant to figure it all out on your own. You were never meant to rely solely on your own understanding. Trusting the unknown means embracing the truth that God has already gone before you, that He has already prepared the way, that He is leading you into something greater than what you could have planned for yourself. The only thing required of you is faith, the willingness to step forward even when you do not have all the answers, the courage to embrace what is unfolding even when it does not yet make sense, the surrender to follow where you are being led even when you cannot see the full picture. Obedience to divine timing unlocks your next level. When God is shifting you, He is not working according to your schedule, your expectations, or your personal sense of readiness. He is operating on a divine timeline, one that aligns with His greater purpose for your life. Many people miss their elevation because they either move too soon, trying to force a breakthrough before it's time, or they hesitate out of fear, delaying what has already been set in motion. Obedience to divine timing means trusting that everything is unfolding exactly when and how it is meant to, even when it does not match your desired pace. Most struggles come from a resistance to timing, either wanting something to happen faster or wishing things could stay the same a little longer. But when God is shifting you, He does not ask for your permission. He does not wait for you to feel comfortable. He moves according to His will, and your role is to align with that movement. Sometimes this means acting immediately when you feel the pull, stepping into something new without hesitation. Other times it means waiting, being still, and trusting that preparation is taking place beneath the surface. In both cases, obedience is key. Divine timing requires patience, but patience is not just passive waiting. It is an active trust in God's process. It is resisting the urge to force things to happen before their appointed time. It is understanding that delay is not denial, that waiting is not wasted time, that preparation is happening even when progress is not visible. Just as a seed does not sprout the moment it is planted, your transformation is happening in unseen ways before it manifests in reality. Rushing the process can lead to premature results, and what is born prematurely often does not have the strength to sustain itself. God does not withhold blessings, but He does release them at the right moment. The opportunities meant for you are already written into your destiny, but they require you to be in the right state, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to receive them. Many times people pray for things they are not yet prepared to handle. They ask for elevation, but are still holding on to habits, mindsets, and attachments that would sabotage their blessing if they received it too soon. Divine timing ensures that what is given to you is given when you are truly ready, not when you think you are ready. Obedience also means moving when God says move, even when it does not make sense. There are moments when you will feel a pull in your spirit, a nudge that tells you it is time to take action. But if you allow fear, doubt, or overthinking to keep you stuck, you risk missing the window that was open for you. Opportunities are not always repeated in the same way. When God calls you forward, He is not asking for your logic. He is asking for your trust. Delayed obedience can be the same as disobedience, and hesitation can cause you to miss what was meant for you. The challenge with divine timing is that it rarely aligns with human expectation. You may feel like you have been waiting too long, questioning why things have not shifted yet, but what looks like delay is often protection. God may be shielding you from something you are unaware of, aligning pieces behind the scenes, or refining your character so that when the shift happens, you are fully prepared to walk in it. Other times you may feel like things are moving too fast, like you are being pushed into something before you feel ready. But readiness is not about comfort. It is about alignment. If God has set something in motion, it is because He knows you have everything within you to handle it. One of the greatest tests of obedience is trusting the unseen. It is easy to trust when the path is clear, when things are going as expected, when you feel in control. But real faith is trusting when there is no evidence, when there is uncertainty, when everything in your mind is telling you to wait, but your spirit knows it is time to move. It is in those moments that divine timing reveals itself. If you listen, if you follow, if you surrender to the process, you will see that everything has been unfolding in perfect sequence. God's shifts are intentional. Nothing happens by accident. Every moment of waiting, every sudden change, every unexpected redirection is part of a larger plan. When you align with divine timing instead of resisting it, you step into a flow where things come together in ways you could not have orchestrated on your own. The right doors open, the right people enter your life, the right opportunities appear, not by force, but by alignment. And in that alignment, you will see that what you thought was delay was actually preparation, that what you thought was uncertainty was actually divine order, that what you thought was too fast or too slow was always happening at the exact right time. Elevation requires separation. When God shifts you, He often calls you away from familiar places, familiar people, and familiar ways of thinking. This is one of the most difficult parts of spiritual transformation because human nature craves connection, stability, and comfort. But divine elevation requires you to release what no longer aligns with where you are going. It is not about abandoning people or rejecting your past, but rather understanding that some relationships, environments, and mindsets were only meant for a particular season of your life. When God is preparing you for more, He will start to remove what cannot go with you into the next phase. Many people struggle with this process because they feel an obligation to hold on to everything and everyone. They fear that separation means loss, that moving forward means leaving others behind. But what they do not realize is that clinging to what is no longer meant for them only delays their progress. Some relationships were built on versions of you that no longer exist. Some environments were designed to sustain you at one level but cannot support you at the next. Growth demands change, and change often requires separation. God will remove people from your life not as a punishment, but as a form of protection. Some people were never meant to walk with you into your destiny. They may not have bad intentions, but their presence in your life can hinder your ability to fully step into your calling. They may project their own fears onto you, discourage you from taking necessary risks, or hold you back with their limited way of thinking. The company you keep influences the person you become, and elevation requires surrounding yourself with those who encourage your growth rather than those who keep you tied to old patterns. This separation is also about shifting your mindset. As you elevate, you cannot continue to think the way you used to think. The beliefs that kept you at one level will not be enough to sustain you at the next. Many people desire change, but they refuse to change how they think, and as a result, they remain stuck. God will challenge you to release limiting beliefs, self-doubt, and the need for external validation. He will stretch your faith and call you to see yourself as He sees you, capable, worthy, and equipped for the purpose He has placed within you. When you resist separation, you resist transformation. If you try to hold on to everything that is familiar, you will find yourself in a constant battle between where you were and where you are going. God's shift is never about making you comfortable. It is about making you ready. This is why some doors will close without warning. This is why some relationships will fade without explanation. This is why certain opportunities will no longer be available. When God is shifting you, He is not just moving you forward, He is pulling you out of what no longer serves you. The process is not always easy. There will be moments when you feel isolated, moments when you wonder if you made the right decision, moments when you question whether you should go back to what is familiar. But comfort is not the goal. Growth is. What feels like isolation is actually preparation. God separates you so He can strengthen you, so He can reveal things to you that you cannot see while you are surrounded by distraction. The quiet seasons, the moments of solitude, the times when you feel like you are walking alone. These are the times when God does His deepest work in you. You must be willing to let go of what is no longer aligned with your destiny. That may mean walking away from friendships that drain your energy. It may mean leaving environments that limit your potential. It may mean breaking free from habits that keep you stagnant. The higher you go, the more intentional you must be about what you allow into your life. You cannot carry everything with you and expect to rise. Every level of elevation requires a new level of discipline. a new level of focus, a new level of faith.